Are you a foodie who loves to cook but hates going to the grocery store? Actually, I try my best not to set foot in the store because it takes so much time to plan out each meal. I get there and of course I overspend. It's super crowded. And can I be honest? After all the trouble of shopping and fighting the crowds, I don't want to have to turn around and check myself out too. So rather than making a weekly trek to the market, I have been a loyal customer of Marley Spoon for years. Marley Spoon sends the recipes of your choice and the fresh, pre portioned ingredients you need to cook them directly to your door so you can enjoy something new and delicious any night of the week. And you don't have to put in the effort of going to the store or planning the meals or overspending like me. With over 18,000 recipes from the Martha Stewart archives to draw from, menus feature carefully tested dishes that range from classic to creative, and the variety, people, is insane. I'm talking French dip burgers, Greek lamb ragu, chili spiced fish tacos, and one of my favorites, the Cajun blackened tilapia with Holy Trinity rice and remoulade. So good. Each week, I just log into the app, choose from over 100 recipes, some of which are customizable, pick my delivery day, and Marley Spoon takes care of the rest. And you even can skip any of the weeks that just don't work for you for whatever reason. And here's the best part. Marley Spoon has been so gracious to offer my listeners up to $235 off their first 5 boxes. Just head on over to marleyspoon.com and enter code Dr. Tiff at checkout to automatically get up to $235 off your first 5 boxes. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. Martha Stewart inspired recipes, pre-portioned ingredients, and I cannot stress this enough, none of the hassle of actually going to the grocery store. What are you waiting for? Just go on over to marleyspoon.com and don't forget to enter code Dr. Tiff at checkout. I'll be sure to also put a link in the show notes so that you can access it there as well. I can't wait for you to try Marley Spoon, and I know you're going to love it just as much as I do. Now let's start the show. My guest today is someone I've long admired for her creativity, her fearlessness, and her ability to shift, pivot, and make it all work. She is a former educator turned serial entrepreneur, podcaster, producer, and founder of Ellevate Media. And she's not done. If I could put my money on it, I suspect she'll be taking over the world pretty soon. Please welcome Koereyelle Mallard to Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. Hi, Koereyelle.
I am in the building and I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. I just can't wait. Like, we just need to jump in because I know that little short little teaser bio is that's not all the tea. That is not your resume. You've done so much. But I think the beauty of where you've come from in the last, it hasn't been a decade. Like, I feel like, how long have you been out of being out of the classroom, I'll say?
So I have been out of the classroom since 2011. So it has been it's like 13 years this summer. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about school first, right?
Okay.
Because I'm very, very curious about this. Because a lot of people are new to their little pivots and transition, especially as we're coming out of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. A lot of us have made really sharp turns, but you made a turn a while ago, and it has been just a wonder. I'm saying from the outside looking in, a wonderful ride, but I'm sure there have been highs, lows, things that you didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know. What grade were you teaching?
Second and third. Third, my last year before leaving, but I taught second and third over 4 years.
Babies.
The babies. It was the perfect age. Like when they're still innocent. They still care about what you think about them. They want to impress you, but they're independent enough to, not be crying.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So what was it like? I do think there was, I always really did appreciate our educators. Like, I knew that it was something that I couldn't do, but I was so grateful for those that stuck it out, thugged it out in the classroom, for not a lot of pay, but a lot of expectation, a whole lot of work, a lot of just craziness. So I've always had this great adoration and respect for teachers, for educators. And then the pandemic hit, and those kids had to come home, and I had to pretend to be an educator. So then there was a whole new layer of appreciation for what you all do. But you left well before the pandemic. What was it that made you feel like I got to get out of this classroom? I would have felt the same way for a whole bunch of reasons, but what was it that made you say I cannot do this anymore?
It was a couple of things. I wanted to be a teacher my entire life, since 7, 8 years old. It was what I wanted to do. There was no doubt about it. I knew that I wanted to study education and be a teacher. My very first year as a classroom teacher, I literally made it to the end of the year and remember having a conversation with my assistant principal, like, so I'm not going to be here until retirement. I just knew that this was not going to be, I've worked in the classroom for 50 years. So I already had started having those conversations about where I could possibly go, what other kind of career options or opportunities there were in the education space, because when you study education, you go one place, to the classroom. Now you might end up going, to become an administrator or the district level or something like that. But we don't really see another career path outside of the classroom. So I started having those conversations because it was like being at that mountaintop where you work so hard to get to this place, and then it was just not what I was expecting.
It wasn't given what it was supposed to
It was
get.
not, no, it was not given. The math was not mathing. I quickly realized how teachers are not just underpaid. We're underpaid, but we also have to fund and supply our classrooms.
Which is bananas.
It's outrageous. So we're literally spending our own pennies, literally, to try to do the best that we can do, if you actually cared, which I did. And, over those 4 years that I was there, I was the teacher who got all of the extra responsibility, was promoted to all of these different positions that did not come with any extra pay, because I actually cared about it. I was passionate about it. I loved my kids. I wasn't teaching to the test. I was literally wanting to make a difference and wanting to make an impact. And it was that, honestly, that made me feel like not only am I overworked and underpaid, but I am doing these children a disservice, because when I go to my administrators and I tell them what they need, and I'm talking about the fact that what y'all are telling me to do is not effective and this is what we should be doing, they don't want to hear that. They want to know what the test scores are. Like, those were the conversations that was their response. And so I really started to feel like I was a part of the problem by being a part of the problem. And it just didn't sit well with me. And so being overworked and underpaid, coupled with knowing that I was really doing a disservice because I didn't have a choice in the matter, truly, and I was tired of getting in trouble trying to do my own thing. And so that's kind of what led me out of the classroom. And to be honest, when I look back over the other teachers that left as well, it was all of the ones that were good, like the ones that cared, the ones that were passionate. The people who just gave their kids worksheets and put on the TV, they didn't care. They're gonna sit around and collect a check till for the rest of eternity. So those two reasons were the big reasons.
Amazing. As you were talking, I was thinking about back to working in a corporate job for a nonprofit. It was still in mental health, but and I used to be so frustrated, kind of for the same reasons, that like the money was fine, but I just felt like I had so much heart and compassion for the patients, and it wasn't about making money. Whereas the business side of it was very much about, let's get these admissions in, let's get these patients, let's do these things. And what I ended up thinking about, it's interesting that you talk about this. What I ended up coming to terms with as I was thinking about leaving, because I loved the work, I loved the people, I loved the patients, I just didn't like the business side of it. I started to think, like, I'm crazy for staying here. That was my revelation. It's like, I'm sitting here expecting a culture, because this culture works for a great number of people. It's bringing in great money. It's bringing in a lot of visibility, notoriety. We're raising great money for mental health and doing all these things. However, I'm not happy because I knew too much. I had been promoted so many times that I started to learn more about the business and really didn't like what I was seeing behind the scenes. And the more you know, the more you don't want to know, kind of thing. And so I started to think, like, I'm sitting here busting my head open trying to make a culture change, trying to make this system work for me when this system is fine the way that for them. It's fine the way that it is for them. I am the disruptor. I am the problem. This does not work for me. It works for them. It does not work for me. And that's what I heard you saying, that you realize that as much as this is something that you wanted, it does not work for you. And you have to
it don't work for them either, but they're going to keep doing it.
They're going to keep doing it. In some ways, I get what you're saying, because I don't feel like it works either. And I think it's incredibly shitty, the way in which we teach or treat teachers in this country. But for whatever reason, it works that in such a way that they don't want to change the system. And it really does need to change. And we're going to continue to lose excellent teachers if we don't learn how to support them better, nurture them more, and of course, pay them their money.
Just appreciate them, because we knew we weren't going to be rich. Nobody goes to school to be a teacher to be rich. Like, that is not it at all. So we knew that. But if the other part was there, then I think we would, I would have been fine. I wouldn't have been running out the door, because I really did care, and I was there for the right reasons. So it's unfortunate.
It's funny that you say that too, because I remember being in my master's program, and one of my first instructors, he said to the whole class something very similar. He's like, we hope that you like the field of psychology, because nobody gets in psychology to make money. And I'm like, do you still
that part?
What? I'm not coming to get a master's degree to not make money. And he's talking about how it's, hard work, which teaching is as well. And yes, you do have an understanding kind of what a cap might be. But I was like, no, I plan on making money. And like you, I said from the start, I know I'm not going to be sitting in an office looking at four walls saying the same thing every day. So I feel like in that way, we definitely have a connection in just seeing a bigger picture for ourselves, even if it doesn't look like what we set out or intended,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that I feel like I connect with you about, is that the vision, it might not be clear at first, but we know that this ain't it.
That part. I don't know what it is, but I know what it ain't. I have figured that out.
So leaving the classroom, what did you go into? Or did you know the day that you quit, did you say, this is what I have going on?
Absolutely not. Let me just say, I did not take a leap of faith. I didn't do any of those things that people say on Instagram. Okay. What I actually did was really crazy. So what really catapulted me out of the classroom. So I had all of those feelings. All of that was valid. Mm-hmm. But what really sparked me, I would say this was my girl stop playing moment, was me getting engaged. It ended up being an abusive relationship. I ended the engagement, and I was so ashamed that relationship failed, that I truly wanted to figure out how to run away from my life. And what that looked like for me at that time was getting a job. I went and applied, did all the interviews, got accepted, got an offer to go teach in Abu Dhabi. Okay.
No, that's
so I literally, I'm out of here. I was gone. That was the final straw. I'm sick and tired. I've embarrassed myself. I'm out of here. So that was my plan. I had given up. I had to give up my teacher contract here in Atlanta to be able to officially accept that one. And over the summer, between the time that, I had stopped here and was supposed to go there, I really had a come to Jesus moment with myself and had to get real about why I was running, and realize that I could run, but I can't hide. And I was eventually going to have to come back. So all I was doing was prolonging the process, because whatever I was going to have to work through, whatever issues I needed to figure out, I was either going to figure them out now or 2 years later when that contract ended. And so at that moment, which was literally less than 30 days before I was supposed to go to Abu Dhabi, I decided, this isn't it's not for me. It's not the best move because I wasn't going for the right reasons. And so that left me with nothing, with no plan, no one more paycheck. Thank God, teachers, we get paid, throughout the summer. So I had one more paycheck left. And my mom gave me the money that I needed to go to bartending school. Where I came up with that idea, I have no idea, y'all. I have no idea. But she gave me the money to go to bartending school. And my first job immediately after being a classroom teacher was a bottle girl. I didn't get a bartending job right away. I got a bottle service, waitress job at a strip club here in Atlanta. Nice. So I literally went from teaching third grade to bottle service at the strip club. And let me just say this, working 4 days a week. What a life. Working 4 days a week, nights only. So technically part-time at a strip club as a bottle girl, not even a bartender. I was making more than I was with a master's degree, teaching full time, trying to help save the world and teach y'all's children. So if they ain't, if that, it's absolutely outrageous. Okay.
It's outrageous. It is absurd. Well, kudos to you for figuring. So you had days free. You had days free. You worked 4 times a week, had days free. What did you do with your time?
So I already had a business. I already had the Single Wives Club, which was basically a relationship readiness organization all about single women preparing to become wives. And so that business, was keeping me busy. I eventually ended up starting several other businesses that I was able to use those days to build the business. And then the money that I made at night basically supported the businesses. It was funding all of my big ideas.
All of your big ideas. Have you always been a big ideas person?
Always. I'm a big ideas girl. I am not the detail girl. I am not her.
However, so it's so interesting. I'm finding as we're talking so many parallels because I've always said I'm an ideas person. The execution. I'm just not my fave.
No way.
Yeah. No.
Wow. I would not have guessed that.
I know. Outwardly, it appears very different, wildly different. But yeah, the execution, I don't feel like it. So you'd probably be amazed, and I'm sure I would too. Like the list of ideas, the things that I come up with in my mind, just like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then the activation of said ideas. Mama's gonna need a little help. So you have these ideas, you're starting these businesses. Where you came into my consciousness was via I think we sat on a panel together.
You were, it was at Work Price Lane. Is that what we're talking about?
No.
It was before that?
What did you just say?
So I invited you. You spoke on a panel at my event at Work Price Lane, but we must have done something together before that.
We did. That's how you knew me.
Found you.
And yes. No. So you were on a panel. Was it Sisters
in Business?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how you came into my consciousness. And there were so many beautiful Black women at this event, just sharing their business experiences. And you were talking there. And then you had asked me to come and do Work, Pray, Slay, which leads me into what I wanted to talk about, because that was kind of a branch of your Work University, correct?
That was the start. Work University came out of Work, Pray, Slay. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about work, and when I say work, I'm saying WERK, Work, Play, Slay, and Work University. Let's talk about that, because you were doing so many little things that were all under the umbrella of, let me show you how to make money. Let me show you how to transition. Let me show you how to bring your side hustle into your main hustle. Let's elevate the side hustle so you can quit doing the thing that isn't paying you what you need to be paid. So all kind of coming from your own place of, I've been doing this thing that I like, I love it, but it's not paying the bills. It's not feeding me the way I need to be fed. And I need to be making money off the things that are innately in me that I'm purposed to do. So I want to kind of bridge that gap of how we got there.
So we got to Work, Pray, Slay from the Single Wives Club. So with the Single Wives Club, we did workshops. We had a membership organization. It was all events. And we eventually started hosting Single Wives Weekend, which was a weekend empowerment conference before the conferences were what they were. This was a weekend empowerment conference for single women who were preparing to become wives. So it was all about relationship readiness. In hosting that event, I realized I got a lot of married women who were like, well, wait, because we weren't just talking about relationships. We were talking about entrepreneurship and all of the parts, personal development, truly. And so I would get a lot of married women who were interested in the content. They would actually come to the weekend, but they were not single women. And so I realized that it was all women who need this information, not just single women. And so Single Wives Weekend turned into Workplace Slay Weekend.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And so what I realized after hosting Workplace Slay Weekend, all of these, well, not all of them, but a lot of my ideas come from the feedback. This is what I thought y'all wanted, but now y'all are telling me what you really need. And so what I realized that they were really loving about Workplace Slay, they would always, people would travel literally from other countries to come to Workplace Slay, and they would rant and rave about the Black women that they would meet, that they've never been in a room with this, with these type of Black women. It was such a great experience. It was such a great environment. And that was all great. But what I was seeing is that year after year, the same women were coming back, and they had not really made progress in doing any of the actual work. They were just enjoying the event, and then they were going home and carrying on business as usual. So Work University was a resource to teach you how to actually apply this information that you just got all excited about over this weekend. I really felt like I was doing my audience a disservice by basically hyping them up and encouraging them and empowering them and letting them know that they could do whatever they wanted to do, but then not actually giving them the blueprint or giving them direction on how to actually do it. So
a little bit more hand holding.
Yep. It's like, let's actually give you the tools and hold you accountable and help you get it done. So that is what Work University was.
You know what is so interesting to me, and so like God is so funny in this way that, he gave you everything that you needed in order to do this. Like, he made sure you had the education to be an educator, right? Then showed you, nah, this ain't what you want. This is not where I want you to teach. Where you thought you wanted to teach is not where you need to teach. And I'm going to show you how you can apply everything that you just learned into what you're actually supposed to be doing, which you could not have imagined or planned.
No, because when I went and got that master's degree, got myself in debt with a curriculum and instruction degree, which definitely seemed like a total waste of time, it definitely has come back around and been helpful. I don't know if it was worth the price, but it's definitely come back and been helpful.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that we all have to keep in common, is that like there are things that we have to go through, and we really may not understand the why, but it all will make sense. It'll all start to make sense. And you'll see even some of the worst jobs that I've ever had. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this week, who's in a position that she's not necessarily feeling right now. And I said, you need to really just sit down and ask God why you're here. Why you're here, because there's a reason why you're at this job. There's something you're supposed to learn, something you're supposed to get out of the experience, maybe someone you're supposed to meet or whatever, and just ask for discernment to make that part clear, because until you do, you're going to continue to be miserable. But there is certainly a reason why you're in that space. There was a reason why you were in the classroom. There was a reason why, people were coming to those conferences, but still weren't like getting what they needed. And it was because more of what you needed to do.
Yeah,
and how you needed to.
God is real funny. Okay, real funny.
Let's talk about that. So you go from developing Work University. I think in the midst of there was some travel stuff.
Girl, I have done. Listen,
traveled.
You want to go there? You want all of it? It's so much.
I'm telling you,
it's so
much.
It's so much.
So much
in between the Single Wives Club, Workplace Slay, Work University. I wrote a book. I know this is all crazy. I wrote a book, which eventually, what did I do first? I think I started the podcast and then I wrote the book. So I started Confessions of a Workaholic in 2015.
I remember that.
Yep, that was my very first podcast. And all of the things that I've done, the commonality has been education-based and for Black women. So in all of, even the travel agency, so what you're referencing is like the group trips you probably saw me talking about, but I actually started a whole entire travel agency where I was teaching and training, other people how to become travel agents, and I was hosting, like group trips. But again, it always is, I go out and learn some information. Now I want to teach you what I've learned so that you can do it too. And
Mhm.
that has kind of been, the
That's been
common
your
thing.
model.
Yep, that's been it.
Yeah,
And not
and
because
I
I even knew it was a model. It's just who I am. It's like I learned
that's who
something.
you
Come on,
are.
girl. Yeah, let me teach you too.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit over the phone, like, and that's one of the things that I always have appreciated about you. I've always found you to be so generous with your knowledge. Anything that you've learned, if someone asks you a question, you go, she gonna answer it.
You might not like
And
the
I don't
answer, but
know.
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, and perhaps it's the educator in you, but you just are not a gatekeeper in that way. And you said to me, it's not that I'm not a gatekeeper, I'm just not a hater.
I'm not. I'm not. Look, I didn't realize how rare not being a
Yeah.
hater was. When people say, I mean, I don't know. It's going to even sound funny, and it sounds like braggadocious for me to even say this, but several people have made statements similar to, Koereyelle just saw me. She saw something in me. She was the first person to recognize. Like I don't have a problem pouring into people. I don't have a problem seeing the greatness in people that's greater than me. I don't think that I've ever met someone and felt threatened by their gifts or their talents, or felt like, how does this make me look? Or I can't do what I'm doing because of what you're doing. Or let me try to stop you from doing what you're doing because I think that I'm going to win. I just don't have that in me. And apparently so many other people do, that it's rare. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not a gatekeeper because I'm not going to lose by helping you win. I don't believe
Yeah.
that.
I think that is a true testament to evolution as women, and especially Black women, as where that is when we know that we are secure, that we are evolved, that we are well adjusted and grown, in knowing that it does not hurt me in the slightest little bit to promote, to shout out, to elevate, to help, to comfort, to be there, whatever it is for someone else. When we can
Mhm.
do that, like, we truly are living in divine times.
Or
I
just
love
that
that.
I see you.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need, like, I
They
see
just need
what
to
you're over
know.
there doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's it. I
Yeah.
mean, there have been times that people have just randomly slid in my DMs and said something so simple. And it was like, wow, I really needed that. I didn't even know I needed that, but thank you. So if I
Yeah.
can ever fill somebody up just a little bit, that I'm not going to lose. And I actually think it helps me win even more, because if I can help you win, you are another winner that I'm connected to.
Right.
Like I want to be
It's like
connected
a
to.
pyramid scheme.
I mean, I want to be connected to all the winners. Look, so I'm going to help you win so we can all
Right.
be the winning team.
Right.
Like,
Right.
what are we doing here? Why would you want to be surrounded by losers? Ask
Mm.
yourself that.
That part. You are so right. You're so right. Well, I was blessed to be a part of a winning team. I was blessed to be a guest on 2 of Grown Woman TV's podcast.
Yes.
That is your new podcast network, the
Yes, ma'am.
first Black woman led podcast network. Am I right?
So we have to say the youngest Black woman led, because there is a
Okay.
Black woman.
All
She went
right.
to Howard. I looked her up. She went to Howard and she did start a podcast network. So I'm a little bit younger than her. So I first youngest.
Ooh,
And then
ooh,
also, I'm just
shade.
saying, I got to hold on to
The
something. It's no
shade of it
shade. No
all.
shade. She's bomb. She's lit. But youngest, and then the only one specifically for Black women. So
I
that
love
is the
it.
differentiator. All of our content is created for Black women.
So because you've been hosting lots of iterations, like the Girl Stop Playing, Confessions of a Workaholic, like you've had some podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and then this idea kind of came around to start Ellevate Media, your own podcasting studio where you rent out space to podcasters who want to elevate their podcasting situation,
Mm-hmm.
and need some consulting help, because this podcasting thing,
I too.
kind of inside and out, and you've been able to grow and develop several podcasts and help others do the same. So you have the space,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have the network. Let's talk about Grown Woman TV.
Yes. So I hosted Confessions of a Workaholic from 2015 to 2021. It was truly a passion project. I did not get paid $1 from brand ads, advertisements, like nothing. I knew nothing about the podcast business. I was just getting up there, talking to people and being passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my first baby, I took a break, took a hiatus off of doing my podcast. And y'all, when I came back off of maternity leave, podcasting was what it is now. So imagine the I don't want to say rage, but imagine the imagine the feeling of having,
it's a gut punch.
It's a gut punch to have, put in the work, put in the time, done it completely wrong, and then taken a break, and it just kind of took off. So I knew that, God kept saying, well, girl, stop playing, which is where the whole concept came from. It was me having to stop playing with myself. So I started Girl Stop Playing in February of 2022. It's all about helping Black women to stop playing with their potential. And we started off initially talking about helping you make the money and get the honey. That's my thing. It's like, how can you make more money and also make sure that that personal side is taken care of too, because we often forget about that or act like it don't exist. So that was the initial kind of message and mission. And then I felt like I kind of started veering off track and having more entrepreneur business focused conversations, and was just kind of getting lost in the sauce of what everybody on these podcasts got going on. So I shifted once we got into season 2 to really focus more on, that getting the honey, the relationship conversations. And in the midst of growing that show, we got to like 1.5 million downloads in like 18 months. So the people were showing me that this was, what they needed. And so they told that to the wrong person, because I have since started 3 additional podcasts. So I currently host 4 podcasts, and then I produce 4 additional podcasts, a couple more starting soon. But the way that I even got into producing is because I've been doing it so long, people would naturally ask me questions about podcasting. And then when I decided to start my own studio for myself and then open up the space for other people, not only did they want to rent the space, they had questions. They wanted to know, how can I set up my show on the proper platforms? How can I actually monetize my show? So in addition to, starting to do a little bit of consulting, I got this bright idea to start this podcast network, because a lot of the people wanted me to just do it for them. They didn't want coaching. They didn't want consulting. They didn't want to ask me a million questions. They were like, girl, just do it. You got all this equipment. You got the studio, just do it. So it became me producing these podcasts. And then because I have this amazing audience of, more than 100,000 Black women around the world who love my content so much, and I knew they would love this content as well, I really wanted to be able to leverage my platform to allow other people, to share their voice. And so that is where Grown Woman TV came in. So we currently have 8 podcasts, 1 original show, 1 original series that live on our Roku channel, Grown Woman TV.
Bravo.
I said a lot.
This is
I know.
amazing. No, this is not, like, it's only the tip of the iceberg though. Like, it's so much, and in such a short period of time, you've really been able to, I don't even want to say change the landscape, but develop your own landscape of what the type of content that you want to put out. I think we're all thinking as content creators, the types of things that we want to put out into the universe. And we do it kind of in a silo, but like you said before, it's not even just about you and the content that you yourself are putting out, but it's also like, I'm seeing these wonderful women around me who, just need some support and help. Come along with me for the ride, and we can all grow together and do this big, amazing thing that is, breaking barriers and doing all of the great things that you're meant to do on this earth. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate
this. This is amazing. I was blessed. I talked a few seconds ago. I was blessed to be able to be a guest on 2 shows on Grown Woman TV podcast, Can of Coins with Q Nicole, who is a friend of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff, and also Wifed Up Now What, and that is a podcast that you co-host. And one of the things I talked about this in our first episode back for season 2, I talked about a bit of a, I don't know if you would really call it a viral moment, but it definitely is a clip that from the podcast, the Wifed Up Now What podcast that I sat in on, around the idea of sexless marriage, and really it's floored me. At the time that I mentioned it in episode 1, it was at 167,000. And this morning I looked, it was 168 at the time of the recording. We really we're talking a lot about communicating what you want in bed and what you want from your partner, what you need sexually, and those kind of things. I'm curious.
Are we turning a corner here? Are we turning a corner here?
No.
Okay, I thought I need to prepare my. I thought I need to prepare my pearls. Okay, go for it.
Listen, you can clutch them, but we still listen. If they get ripped off, that ain't my fault. No, I'm wondering what you think about that particular, and I'll put a link to that. I'll put a link to the episodes for Grown Woman TV. I'll put a link to the particular podcast episode, but also a link to Grown Woman TV and all of the things, so you guys can follow the network on Roku and on YouTube. I'm curious about that clip and why you think it resonated with so many people, because by and large, that is the most active, and that's the most activity on my timeline. And the people are still liking that clip, and that video is so old. I mean, it's not so old. It's probably a month or two old. Yeah.
I think, well, I personally, when I was preparing for that show and just doing research, because I think I just mentioned a statistic, and then you talked about your experience with your clients. I
started running off at the mouth.
Yeah. No, it was shocking to even read that statistic. I mean, I've obviously come across these conversations on other podcasts, and I was just intrigued by it. But as a married woman, to imagine 6 months or more, because I think that's how you define it, like 6 months or more with no sex inside of your marriage, that is unfathomable for a lot of people. And I think because, and a part of my whole mission with Grown Woman TV, I've said this several times, it's meant to be like this virtual village. My goal is not to go viral. My goal is to provide value. It's to get these, not even necessarily controversial topics, but these conversations that we're not having, because what I want to avoid is anybody getting into a situation and feeling so alone, feeling like whatever they're experiencing is their fault. They're the only one who's gone through this. But those types of situations happen when we keep these conversations under wraps. Yes. If you get into a marriage and it ends up being sexless and you've never heard about a sexless marriage, you're immediately going to think that you are just the worst person in the world. Something is wrong with you, like all of those things. And so I think that, number one, people are unfamiliar with this concept of sexless marriage. So it is intriguing because who does that? But I also think there's probably a part of a lot of women who might not necessarily relate to it, but they could probably identify with some of the reasons behind it.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting how many women and men, who are in sexless marriages, not realizing there's a term for it, being a sexless marriage, and don't even understand how they got in it or how they're going to get out of it. I've had conversations with women who feel like my sex desire is so low, I don't want to have sex. I don't even want to have sex.
Like no desire to even have a desire.
Right. And that's a very scary place to be in. And yes. So think about being married, not wanting to have sex with your partner and not wanting to have sex with your partner, because those are two separate things. You can, your desire can be low, but you're like, I wish it was higher. I wish I was more. I wish I was more motivated. I'm just not. I'd be happy to take a pill if there was one that was effective for women. I'd be happy to do whatever. Or even, you know what? I don't necessarily have the desire, but once the arousal starts happening, I'm good to go. So as long as my partner initiates, I'm fine. But if he waiting on me to initiate, it's probably not going to happen because my desire is low. A lot of women live there, right? But then there is this subset of women, and I'm talking about women, but it could be women or men or whomever that is the low desire partner. But there are a lot of people who feel like my desire is low. I could care less. And I'm not really interested in having more sex anyway. So
would those be asexual people?
No, I wouldn't term it as that. Because I wouldn't necessarily term it as that, because there's so many different reasons as to why they feel that way.
So I could see there was infidelity, but I'm going to stay with you. I could see
Right.
that being a mindset. Like, I'm here, we're
Right.
in the marriage, I'm
But
not
I will
going to
never have
leave,
sex
but I
with you
have
again.
no
I have no
desire.
desire.
Yeah.
And what that tells me is you don't want to have sex with that person because of the trauma or the emotional injury that this person inflicted. But if I were to put you in a different situation, or perhaps in the hands of a good toy, you know,
Talking different.
might be wanting to have sex then, you know? So we're talking about desire in terms of it's off. I don't even want to know where the button is to turn it back on, you know? So it could be that the reason why that is, right? Sex desire can be low for so many reasons. It could be low, like you said, maybe there was infidelity and trust is broken and I can't get my head back in the game to be able to even think, to be motivated to be more sexual. It could be I'm on certain medications. Like think about someone with a chronic illness, right? Let's say first thing's coming in my mind is cancer, right? I kind of got bigger fish to fry than trying to, you know, sit on top of somebody and pump and sweat. Like I'm thinking about my life here. So I may not be as motivated to be sexual. I may be like just trying to figure out how I'm going to get through chemo. Like it's just not a part of my
even
consciousness.
more common than, because that's worst case scenario, but a very common scenario is I just had this baby. I am not on that right now. This is not the season. This is not my sexy time season. Like, and that is even a very real thing. That again, I want to have these conversations so that when you experience that, you don't feel like you are the worst person
it's
in the
end of the world.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that feels that way. So think about this. Most of us can't, you're told by your doctor, depending on whether you had a vaginal birth or a C-section, you know, no sex for 6 to 8 weeks, maybe, right? Maybe it's 12, right? 6 to 8, 12 weeks. That's already 3 to 4 months. Did I say that right? 2 to 4 months.
Yeah.
That's already 2 to 4 months, right? 2 to 3 months, whatever. So you're halfway there. So if you're still after the 3-month period, not feeling comfortable in your body, still having postpartum issues because the hormones are still fluctuating, you know, you're still breastfeeding if that's, you know, your choice to do so. Haven't lost baby weight. Maybe you're still having some pain, perennial tears, C-section, all of that. There's a part of you that may not want to have sex and can't even fathom thinking about getting yourself in this situation again because you're not through it now, you know? So there is a period where we could all, if we really thought about it, see ourselves being in a situation. Doesn't mean we're asexual. It just means that I don't want it at this point, and I don't want to want it. I just want to get myself together. I want to get myself back. I want to be whole. And so in any relationship, my advocacy is really about making sure that you are well, making sure that you are well within yourself, because sexual wellness and our health, sexual health, it comes into fruition when we are diligent about our self-care as a whole. When we are really mindful of our mental health, when we're really mindful of our physical health, really mindful and actualizing our potential in terms of how we move about in this space, we have to feel good about ourselves in order to be more motivated to be sexual with our partners when sexual desire is an issue.
Big facts.
Big facts. All right. So monetization mindset. We're all putting out this content now, whether it's just for fun, just to have the things that we like on social media, to post pictures from a vacation, to show our outfits, whatever it is. There is a whole world that I don't know was really, I think, you know, you kind of like it or talked about it when you talked about doing your podcast first season and then coming back and it was just like everything blew up and turned itself on its head in a good way. People are now monetizing the content that we have just always kind of put out there for free. And I know that you work or have worked with creators to monetize their gifts, to monetize their passions, to monetize the things that the knowledge that they have. How can we as creators begin? What's the first step like to monetize more of our content and get the money and the honey, as you talk about?
I'd say the first step is knowing that you can't wait for anybody. I think so many people, especially, and I'm just going to talk about podcasting, or even
Yeah.
Instagram. You want to be an Instagram influencer, or you start a podcast wanting to make money. When people come to me, they're coming to me. If they're going to pay me to produce their podcast, they're expecting their podcast to pay them in some way. And typically the way that they want their podcast to pay them is through brand deal, brand partnerships, advertising. And that is what I would consider you waiting on somebody to pay you. Those are long-term strategies, because there has to be a big enough audience. You got to have enough downloads. You got to have enough followers. You need enough subscribers. You need enough engagement for a brand to see you as worthy to give you this check, to pay you this money. So yes, that's possible. Yes, that's a way to do it, but that's a long-term strategy. So step one is
if your podcast is downloading 10 episodes a week,
don't be
brand is not going to pay you for ad space, because only 10 people they're looking for thousands of people.
They are paying you for your audience. So if there is no audience, there is no pay. So the first step is understanding that this is not get rich quick. I mean, nothing is get rich quick, but content is definitely not get rich quick unless you already have a built-in audience and now you're just adding this content element, to your strategy. So step one is knowing that. But step two is figuring out like what you already have. I say you got to check your cabinets, right? I'm on this whole you got food at home diet. Not even diet. That's my mindset, right? You got food at home. I done lost a couple pounds. I've saved some money, saved some time. It has all of these benefits, right? You got food at home when it comes to your content, or when it comes to monetizing, is what do you already have access to that you can now repurpose and sell through this content. A lot of people want to get to the place where they have this partnership where a brand is going to pay you to try to sell their stuff. In the meantime, you sell your own stuff to your people. So what that looks like is you have that old ebook that you created a year ago. You've done nothing with it. It's collecting dust. But now you have this podcast and you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs about why nobody wants to pay you. Pay yourself. Get that ebook, update it, maybe put a new cover on it, repurpose it, maybe turn it into an audio. You can make an audio version, whatever you need to do to remix and repurpose, but create specific episodes, create a 30-second commercial, create a reel specifically around that digital product that's literally sitting in your closet,
just sitting there,
your digital closet. So that to me is where I try to get my clients, at least when we're talking about podcasting specifically, to focus on. It's how can you monetize yourself versus waiting on somebody else to come along and give you a check. Because yes, again, it's possible, but I like to think about probability and not possibility. So yes, it's possible, it can happen, but the probability of you being on your first season with 3 episodes and 15 downloads, it's like, no, but that does not mean you should not have a strategy. That just should not be your strategy in this season. Not in this season. That ain't it. You'll be mad. You'll be mad.
Yeah. I think that's an important lesson, and a great gift. Thank you so much for that. I think we all want to see the hard work that we put into something kind of grow and develop and reap the benefits from that expeditiously. And what I'm hearing you say is that it's just not typical for that to happen. And certainly I do believe in big, bold, audacious goals and setting those.
And we serve a big God. So again, go for
anything can happen. But like you said, the probability ain't it. It ain't it.
Well, and let me say one more thing really quick, because what I've realized, a hard lesson that I've learned in producing these podcasts, was what people say they want versus what they actually want. Because in any of the conversations, I'm very vocal about wanting to create purpose-driven content, not wanting to create conversations that's just going to go viral. Like, that is not it for me at all. And so the people I'm talking to, they're like, yeah, I'm with it. This is what I want to do. But on the back end, I'm realizing that y'all just want us to go viral. Specific people, you just wanted to go viral. Like, that is what you really, that's what your goal was, which is cool. Everybody wants their content to do well, but viral does not equal money. There are so many people that go viral that don't monetize. They go viral one time. They don't have their systems in place. Their platforms are not optimized. There's no paycheck on the other side of that viral moment. So just knowing what your true intentions are before you start anything, I think is so important, because we can get caught up in what the gram tells us we should be doing next. And we're just doing things just for the wrong reasons. And then we wonder why we get those outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It definitely is a long, it definitely is a long game. You know, I'm excited though to talk to you about your latest venture.
Ooh, yeah.
A vlog called Everybody Lied.
They be lying. They be lying, man.
Everybody Lied. Tell me about that before we go. I have to hear about this, because as I started to read about it, I think your email blast came out yesterday, and then I saw a post also yesterday about it. And I was like, brilliant. She's right. They did lie to us.
They
girl.
totally
so
lied.
Tell us, Everybody Lied.
Everybodylied.com. I'm actually circling back. I had a blog a decade ago that I let go. I'm beating myself up, because blogs are, if y'all don't know, blogs are coming back around. Okay. Blogs are coming back. So everybodylied.com is the premise of all of the lies that we've been led to believe our entire life. And then we follow that blueprint and we don't get the result that we were promised. So what that looks like
is about college. Okay. Going to college.
Listen, when you log on,
take out your loan.
That's the first blog you're going to see, is they lied about those student loans, because the conversations that should have been had with 18, 19, 20-year-olds about this debt that they were going into and the degree that does not match the debt, it was a big lie. Okay. One of the biggest scams that you'll never pay off, because your paycheck doesn't support it.
I got another one. If you need to do an addendum to that particular blog, the refund check. Okay. You do that one. Okay.
Listen. It was all a big scam. We didn't know what we were doing. And that is kind of.
No. And our parents didn't know what to advise us.
Nope. And the people
many of
who
us
did
were
know,
first generation college students.
Yep. And the people who should have been advising us, like the financial aid office, the career counselors, like there should have been a conversation about whether or not this degree is going to support this debt. But anyway, that is just one example of these lies that we've been told, right? You go to college, you go to school, you get the good grades, you go to college, you get the degree, you get the job with the good benefits, and then ta-da, you have this good life. Not the case at all. We're often lied to about the need to rush to have kids, like you're getting old. We're pushing this concept of the aging mother. Your eggs are going to be dry. It's going to be dust. You have nothing left. You need to rush into this thing, where being on the other side of it, having had my first baby at 35 and knowing that I still was not prepared, that I still didn't know what I was doing, that even today with two kids, I'm still figuring it out. I cannot imagine if I would have had a child any younger. So that, I think, is a big lie. The thought that getting a husband is the goal and nobody talks about what it takes to maintain a marriage. That is a lie, a big one. And these revelations kind of came to me after getting engaged, getting pregnant, getting married, having a baby, all within less than a year, and literally being pushed into this dream life, because this is all stuff that I prayed for, which is also why it makes it really tricky, because these are like things that I've been blessed with, but I still am trying to figure out how to navigate all of this. Yeah. So that is what everybodylied.com is all about. It's me sharing what I discovered to be the truth, my truth, and then any resources that I can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, and I love that you're building a community for women who this content will resonate with, because we've all been told those same lies. And I'm sure, knowing you'll get feedback from those articles and from your blog, and that will just deliver us more delicious content.
Yep. I already got people sliding in my DMs like, girl, I was just talking about this to my therapist. Like, it was all our grandmas, our mamas. Yes, people are coming out of the woodwork. And that to me is always God's little confirmation that just keep going and follow directions. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to throw another one at you. Listen, I can come up with ideas all day. I don't feel like doing it though. But the lie of therapy for Black women, Black people, in like how
you're crazy. Yeah, you must be crazy if you got to sit on that couch. Yeah,
that is a whole bold-faced lie. I want to thank you so much for just joining us today, for sharing your wisdom, sharing yourself, sharing your knowledge, your passions, and just sharing just the beauty of Koereyelle. I cannot cannot imagine being in this space. I would like to say that you definitely inspire me to be better, to go out there, to try to take leaps of faith and just, just do the impossible, because and when they say representation matters, like, you are one of those people that I would put up there with just about anybody,
Thank you.
that when we see you as Black woman doing the things that you've been able to do and accomplishing, just taking leaps of faith, even when you don't know where you're going to land, it gives us the insight, the power, the motivation to do the same thing. So thank you for being an awesome representation of what we all strive to be.
Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it. Truly,
Mm,
I appreciate it more than you know. And thank you for having me. This was
mm.
fun. I can't believe it's over already.
I know. Well, you listen, we have to work efficiently because you got about 15 more jobs
This is
to
true.
do today.
This is true.
So as the folks say, I ain't gonna hold you. But but if you want to know more about our guest today, Koereyelle, I want you to follow her. Give her a follow at Koereyelle on Instagram. That is Koe. I've really practiced spelling her name. Koereyelle.
You did it. With her eyes
Go
closed,
follow.
y'all. She was not
Yes,
even
yes.
reading it,
I was
okay? You did it.
listen, it is important to me to know how to spell your name.
Thank you.
It's been a go. Because usually I'll just say, "Hey, Ko,"
Well, you did it.
and that's because I'm still trying to perfect it. But now I got it.
Thank you.
But yes, please go follow Koereyelle on Instagram. Also follow Grown Woman TV. That's where you're going to get all the information about all of the podcasts under the Grown Woman TV umbrella. Go over on your Roku and your YouTube, and also follow Grown Woman TV network, because you're going to want to see all of the beautiful image of the beautiful Black women on all of those beautiful Black podcasts. Koereyelle, everything that you have, you're going to just send me an email with all the links. I'll make sure to put every link that we can possibly put into the show notes, so people know exactly where to find all of your product offerings, whether they're digital products, any upcoming events, speaking, and any ways that they can continue to support you. We love you down over here on Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. We invite you back anytime you want to come. And yeah, thank
I'll
you so
be
much.
back.
She's gonna be back. Y'all heard her. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for kicking it with us today on Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The podcast is available for you, and we're building a beautiful community of people who wish to enhance their relationships and be more intentional about their self-care. If that is you, then you can rock with us. Just continue to rock with us, and definitely spread the word. Share this podcast with anyone who you know might need this information. Until next week, ciao.